On the biggest stage in the world, FanDuel's changing the game because sometimes your player gets subbed off and your bet goes with them. Not anymore. With FanDuel's Super Sub, if your player's subbed out, your bet stays in. That's right. If your player leaves the match, your bet continues on with the substitute. So you're still in it until the final whistle. Visit FanDuel.com. Get started now. Let there be goals this summer on FanDuel.
21 plus select states for Kansas in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino. 18 plus DCKYWY. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 1-800-MY-RESET. 888-789-7777. Visit ccpg.org/chat. Connecticut. Visit mdgamblinghelp.org. Maryland. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org. Call 800-327-5050. Massachusetts. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY. Text HOPE-NY in New York. Call 877-770-7867. Louisiana.
Visit FanDuel.com. Get started now. Let there be goals this summer on FanDuel.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Excuse me. Taxi.
Okay, man, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
Craig Carton with us on WABC this morning. Craigie, good morning. How are you?
Yeah, not much of a voice left after last night. And probably in my lifetime, your lifetime, got to go down as arguably the single greatest sports moment we've had.
No, it's right there. Like, I said this morning, I was in the stadium after Whitney Houston sang the national anthem and Norwood missed that field goal, Super Bowl 25, Giants-Bills. Certainly the ground ball that Mookie Wilson hit that went underneath Bill Buckner's legs. Those are all part of it. But this one, David Tyree's catch. But you're right, this one, 29-point comeback. But I want to start, before we get back to the game, with your conversation yesterday. First of all, I know Dolan likes you. That's a great get, Craig. You're the only guy that can get Dolan in New York on game day. So congratulations. The only part of the interview, which I thought was magnificent, you did an amazing job, where I really couldn't figure it out is, I'm not exactly sure if you guys are watching the news or not, but this idea that Knicks fans have been good and behaved and deserve outdoor watch parties, there have now been arrests 3 consecutive game nights, and it doesn't matter whether they win or lose. 2 of those nights, Game 2 San Antonio, Game 4 New York, the Knicks won, and there are still people getting arrested. So I hate to break it to Jim Dolan, but I said this yesterday, they should cancel these parties. New York is starting to look like Los Angeles and Detroit or Uganda or Gaza. We don't deserve it, Craig. I'm sorry.
Look, there have been obviously issues at watch parties, not just the watch party at the Garden, the one in Bryant Park. Obviously, a couple of nights ago was hard to look at, and the behavior of, a couple hundred people was disgusting and a bad look for New York. I'm not sure that's what Jim was talking about yesterday. What he was talking about yesterday was kind of twofold. One, the fact that they continue to have basically a frozen zone in New York City where they closed off the city from 29th Street up to 35th Street, north and south, and 6th Avenue to 8th Avenue, east and west. Now, when they did that on Monday night, the reason they gave us was because the Secret Service wanted it for the protection of the president. Well, while none of us may have wanted it, we could certainly respect that. There have been assassination attempts on the president, and it's every city's duty to make sure when a visiting president comes into town that he's safe. But then we find out yesterday that the Secret Service never requested that, and it came from the mayor's office. So I think the first thing that Jim was concerned about or pissed about was that why are we shutting down the city again with such a wide swath of the shutdown when the president's not in town, and this city has in the past shown an ability to protect its citizens when there's large gatherings of people. The second part was this specific watch party at the Garden. Mayor Mamdani is not a fan of the Knicks, and he is not a fan of these gatherings of Knicks fans. He's trying to stop it, much like he's trying to replace Jessica Tisch as the police commissioner, and probably will before the end of this year. So the question became, yes, we've had some misdemeanor arrests, we've had some property damage. It's not a good look. But when you talk about the breadth of how many people are gathering versus how many of these knuckleheads are causing a problem, why did the mayor try to take credit for a 1,000-person watch party that now, out of the blue, required a ticket to attend when Madison Square Garden has had thousands of people there at every single Knicks game this postseason? And yes, some small incidents for sure, but not what we saw in Bryant Park. So I think there was a conflation of two different issues on the show yesterday.
Fair enough. That's a very good explanation. Great job, Craig. Thank you for that. Jim Dolan with Craig Carton yesterday, and you mentioned the fact that he's not a Knicks fan. I've been railing about this since the Atlanta Hawks series. I've been tweeting every time the Knicks win. This moron who, as you said yesterday to Jim Dolan, thinks we play basketball games in stadiums. No dick face. We play basketball games in arenas. And the governor, that idiot who thought we won a championship in 1993 when it was 1973, the both of them, and I know Hochul wasn't mentioned yesterday with you and Dolan, but she's every bit as guilty as the mayor. She goes on Twitter, way to go, New York, we're fighters. Shut up. You think either one of them ever heard of Rory Sparrow or Eddie Lee Wilkins or Mike Newland or Johnny Newman? I am so sick and tired, Craig, of the mayor and the governor. They're liars. It was so great to hear you and Jim both call out the mayor for not being a Knicks fan.
Well, not just that. Look, you don't have to be a Knicks fan. I don't think he's a basketball fan either. I've had people, high up in the administration and with the police department tell me he hates basketball. I think you're going to see a much different mayor now that the World Cup starts today because he's a huge soccer fan. And I think you'll see that his tact when it comes to watch parties for the World Cup, which is not a single game being played in the city of New York or any one of the 5 boroughs. I think you'll see a much different city hall when it comes to that. But look, politicians do this all the time, right? I mean, whether it's the governor, whether it's the mayor, all of a sudden they recognize that there's an opportunity to try to reach potential voters down the line by pretending to be, into a major sporting event. Now, I can tell you in my lifetime or recent lifetime, Governor Patterson was a legitimate Met fan, and he would go to Met games. Rudy Giuliani was a legitimate Yankee fan. He was a fixture at Yankee Stadium. Mayor de Blasio was not a sports fan, didn't go to many sporting events. So I think for us as New Yorkers, we can spot a fraud a mile away. There have been some politicians, governors, and mayors who are huge sports fans and wear it on their sleeve. My dear friend, I know you're not a big fan, Chris Christie, diehard sports fan.
Yeah. But you may be a diehard sports fan, but good old Fatso there is in New Jersey. He's not rooting for you're rooting for the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, what are you doing? I mean, come on, what is that all about?
Right. But the point is, his fandom is legitimate.
True.
Right? We didn't question whether or not he was a fan and knows the sport. But you give a politician a chance to jump into a good time, they'll find a way to mess it up. No doubt about it.
Yeah, you make a very good point there, too. And it is about the voters.
I'll give you one other thing. So I get a call yesterday. There's a pizza chain in New York City called Bravo Pizza. There's about 6 or 7 of them throughout Manhattan. I don't know about the other boroughs, but I know they're in Manhattan. And there's a Bravo Pizza on 30th and 8th. That place was counting on last night to do 2 or 3x their normal business and pay their rent for the next couple months. Nobody went in last night because of the lockdown. And somebody needs to explain to New Yorkers why we are locking down 6 city streets and 3 city avenues when there's no reason to shut them down. I don't understand that at all.
All right, I want to go back. It's a fair question. I did not like the fact that he went after Jessica Tisch. I think she's doing the best she can. Like you said, the mayor doesn't really like her, but he knew that he needed her to try to keep a semblance of safety in this city. Plus, it looks good that a Jew-hating lowlife like him actually has a Jewish police commissioner, but I think she's doing the best she can under very difficult circumstances, so I thought Dolan was a little tough on Jess. But I do want to play this cut, too. You're funny, Greg. You're trying to get my guy Trump in trouble here. This is Craig Carton with Jim Dolan yesterday on the fan, and Craig brings up President Trump. Lewis, cut number 1.
May have looked like he shut his eyes for a long period of time during one part of that game.
I was with him the whole time.
He did not fall asleep.
We were talking the whole time.
I'm just
maybe he was sleep talking. He wasn't. He was very much awake. He was very much engaged.
Okay.
Right. Look. That's the first sitting president of the United States to ever go to an NBA Finals. Yeah. That is a huge honor, right? And he's a New Yorker. And whatever you think about him, he's a Knicks fan. And, people don't want to hear this. I think he's a great guy. And I love.
And you've known him a long time,
right? I've known him for over 30 years, but I'm not going to go on this show and start espousing the president. I'll just say that having him there was a great honor, right? And and I enjoyed sitting with him, right? And he asked me a lot of questions.
Were you guys talking basketball?
Yeah, we were talking basketball.
To be a fly on that wall. That'd be great.
He knows basketball.
All right, so no, he wasn't asleep. And, of course, you heard all the ridiculous. And these guys were being serious. At least they claim they were. I think Stephen A. Smith got the attention he garnered because President Trump called him a box of rocks, said his IQ was so low he could never run for office. And Stephen A. Smith was so happy the president mentioned him, he didn't care about the content. But whether it was Stephen A. or Max Kellerman or Spike Lee, they blamed President Trump for the Game 3 loss. And Stephen A. texted me, Craig, I swear to you, 2 hours before the game yesterday and said, if we lose tonight, it's still Trump's fault, which was some of the dumbest and silliest commentary ever. But it was nice to hear Jim Dolan say nice things about the president.
Yeah, look, you know how it is. You do it every single day. I don't. From a talk show standpoint, you can't talk politics in this country. You can't talk about Trump, good or bad, in this country. But, a lot of these guys, and I think we probably do it in a different way, it's all performative. Like, there's nobody that can come out and say that a human being sitting in a luxury suite 150 feet away from the court of play is now singularly responsible for the outcome of a game. Like, what are we doing? But I also respect it. If the idea is to get attention for yourself and get clicks, maybe get more viewers, we all try to do it. And that's what Stephen A. did. He's great at it. But it's performative, like his fandom, in my opinion. It's performative. But as a guy that performs, I respect it. He moves the needle. So all good. But, the focus today, in my opinion, should not be about what the mayor did or the police department or even the lockout of that part of New York City. It should be the fact that we are all blessed not to be in Sid Rosenberg's company, which I know is an amazing gift that we all get every day. But we should feel blessed that we got to see one of the most amazing historical sporting events in the history of this great city of ours. You talked about 86, Game 6. A night that they did not win the World Series, and obviously, because they needed Game 7. I think that's the best comparison because the Mets were left for dead. There's no chance they're going to come back. The Red Sox are going to win the World Series, and all of a sudden, Gary Carter with a single, Kevin Mitchell, and Ray Knight, and Mookie Wilson with the dribbler. And we all sat there, and Gary Thorne, I thought, said it best in that broadcast, stunned disbelief was his call when he interrupted the great Bob Murphy. And that's how I viewed last night.